Hello. Who thinks here analytics is fun? Raise your hand. Oh, yeah, you're in the right place. Cool. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to look at the differences between UA and GA4 in the context of SEO, do a quick review of GA4 event tracking functionality. We're going to look at how to understand GA4's automated event tracking and also using that for scaling SEO performance. So conversion tracking for SEO is really undervalued. Myself, I'm actually head of paid media, so you're probably wondering why I'm doing a talk on SEO. But it's my job to ensure event tracking is set up correctly for clients to prove that return on investment. But why do we not do that for SEO? So let's go back to basics. Let's look at the differences between Universal Analytics and GA4 in the context of SEO. So here are the differences. Universal Analytics used to measure everything by these different hit types here, and Google Analytics 4 has measured everything by events, so it's made it a lot easier to understand. Other differences here, session calculations, bounce rate. I know everyone hated the fact bounce rate left, but I'll tell you why engagement rate is better in a minute. Cross-device tracking, and also why Google Tag Manager is more important than ever before. Now, if we look at bounce rate used to be classed as one-page view, under 10 seconds, and no conversion event. Now, that makes sense, right? A user is not engaged with the website. But what also classes a bounce rate is one-page view, over 10 seconds, and a conversion rate was also classed as a bounce rate. That's not kind of correct, because if you've got great content on your website and a user has got the information they want, they made a conversion event, it's not really a true measurement of of what the user had here. So now that tracks as engagement rate, and obviously anything over page view, on one page view is also engagement rate. And just remember that bounce rate, the higher the number, the worse the page, and now engagement rate, the higher the number, the better the page. So event and conversion tracking. Events are anything that is deemed important to understand user engagement and how a user uses the website. A conversion is anything that is deemed for business success. So for instance here, we've got all these different events, and at the bottom we've got lead gen form submission. That's deemed as business success for this particular client. Also, remember that all conversions are events, but not all events are conversions. And to make things even more complicated, after I did this presentation, Google came out with an update that said all conversions are now going to be called key events. Great. So just remember that conversions and key events are interchangeable now, and you're going to see that when you go into your GA4. So different types of user engagement that we can look at. Content consumption, user interactions, site search, user journeys, that engagement rate I just mentioned, video of engagement downloads, and page views per session. So one of these landing pages here for AS Marketing is that we wanted to track different ways that users were engaging with the page. At the top here, this is an event. Sign up to get free access to our masterclass. At event, we wanted to track the clicks here. Chat with us. Now, you might think, oh, this is a conversion. It's not. We wanted to check how many people clicked the chat with us button. That actually opens up a pop-up. Once a user fills in their information, that's our conversion. Same with the download here. The button click here is an event, but the pop-up is a conversion. So how do we do a quick review of GA4 tracking? You want to go back to basics. If you're not already using GA4, you probably should be now. And if you haven't started looking at your events and setting this up, go back to basics. Look at your entire website and start to look at what events you think are deemed important for your website. And then look at those events and try and look at which ones are deemed important for business success. Again, this particular client wanted lead gen form submission was for business success, and then we also had phone click. That's what they wanted to track as conversions for this. You're then going to want to set up events in Google Tag Manager. If you're not already using Google Tag Manager, please start. It's come on leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. It's really user-friendly, although it may not seem, and it may seem a little bit daunting. There are so many good tutorials online. I'm not going to talk about how to set this up on this talk here, but start to look at how to set up events in Google Tag Manager. The next thing you want to do is, once you've set up all these events, before you hit the publish the container button, you're going to want to verify all your event tracking is working. So head over to the preview mode and start looking through the website and look at all those events and make sure they're tracking perfectly in Google Tag Manager before you hit publish. And then what you can also do in GA4 is use the debug view in GA4 that's similar to the Google Tag Manager. But the reason I say to do this is because it can take up to 24 hours for your events to start pulling into GA4. So if something's not working, you're not going to know it's not working for quite a long time. Once you've done this and it all looks beautiful, then go through your website as a user and go through all of your events so you can start seeing them pull into GA4. The reason we do this is because you can't set up a conversion in GA4 until that event gets pulled in. So how do we make the most out of the GA4 events? Well, customized reporting. I love GA4 for this because you can create reports and push them into your dashboard for quick viewing. This is particularly great if you've got a lot of different departments who need different reports and things. You can add them all to your dashboard on GA4. This particular client here wanted to look for conversions, but wanted to see the source and medium and URL path query. So instead of going into GA4 and trying to figure out how to do all this each time you go in, you can set up a report and add it to your dashboard for quicker viewing. The next thing is monitor and optimize. Dedicate one person or at least one team to be responsible for all of the following. Reviewing data regularly, every quarter at a minimum. Go through and check that all your events and conversions are set up correctly. There's many a times we've run marketing campaigns only to realize that tracking hasn't worked, something's knocked it out, and all that data is warranted pointless, really. We have no data to go off, so make sure you're regularly reviewing your data. And then monitor user permissions and access control. One of the clients I have, they've got quite a large team. They've got a US team, they've got a European team, and they all have access to their GTM. What we found very quickly is that they were all trying to track the exact same thing. So it led for duplicate tracking, which isn't great because then that data, again, is warranted pointless. Document all changes. I'm a stickler for a spreadsheet, so I document everything. You're going to want to document anything that is deemed important, so any website updates, any page layout changes, any event tracking, any conversion tracking you've set up. Document everything, so at least if something does go wrong, you can pinpoint that date change and look at how quickly you can sort of rectify this. You're then going to want to regularly compare your website and CRM to support data collection. If, for instance, your CRM is saying we had 20 leads last month, but your GA4 is saying we had 100, something's gone wrong here. So regularly compare your website. Now, GA4, whilst some people use it as a source of truth, it's probably not, but it's probably around 90% accurate. But always use that to support your data collection when you're doing any comparisons. And while Universal Analytics is leaving us, we don't know if it's going to be turned off entirely, so please back up any historical data and collect what you currently can from Universal Analytics whilst you can. And then double check automated event tracking and possible duplication. Now, if you've started using GA4, you've probably already realized it's already automatically tracking some events. So these are some ones we've got: page view, session start, form start, submit, click, and all of these things. What you're going to want to do is just ensure you're not double tracking. So form submit is a very good one. Form submit will track any form submit across the website. Now, if you've got many different contact forms or you've got download forms, this form submit for you is not probably going to work. It's going to still automatically track, but you're going to want to set up tracking separately for those different types of forms here. So just make sure you're aware of this, that you're not double tracking things. So after all of that, how do we scale this for SEO performance? One of the things we can do, first and foremost, is link Search Console within your GA4. You can do this via the settings. And then you can set up this report here. We can look at landing page query strings and then look at Google Search Console metrics here. Set this report up and you've got it for easier viewing in your dashboard. The next thing you can do is obviously look at conversion tracking based off session source and medium. So yes, we can say we had 83 conversions for the lead gen form submission via Google Organic. The next thing you can do as well, another report that I quite like to look at, is look at organic search next to the landing page query string, and then look at how many conversions you've got. And I think a lot of you are probably going to say, this is great, but this doesn't exclude branded keywords. Yes, I know, and there's not really a tool I know with Google that we can do that as of yet. So we're going to have to do kind of like an educated guess, if you like. What you can do then is head over to Google Search Console. You can look at that specific page. You can minus query your brand term. Now, if we look at how many clicks this has got, say 2,000, and then we go back to our report in GA4 and say we've got 4,000 clicks here, and 2,000 of those came from non-branded, we can safely assume that 50% of this came from non-branded keywords. Use this metric against your conversions, use this multiplication, against your conversions, and then you can safely say 50% of those came in. And if you see this upward trend in conversions next to clicks from non-branded keywords, that gives you kind of an idea of how this is working for you. Number 3, one of my favorite tools in this, as I said, I do advertising, is this kind of report in GA4. If you head out of your reports and head down to advertising and conversion paths, you're going to come to this kind of report here. Now, if we think of this early touch points, mid touch points, and late touch points as top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, what you're going to see is how all of these marketing channels are working together. Naturally, at bottom funnel, we're going to see a lot of direct and organic search. We can probably say this is probably branded keywords here. Makes a lot of sense. This client actually relies on a lot of organic search at the top funnel and middle funnel. If we were to see that the client heavily relied on paid media at the top funnel, we know that we need more organic content on the website to increase that organic search as well. And the next thing we need to do is start to look at or to start looking at marketing holistically. We don't want to start looking at things in silos. So on this report, you can actually start to look at conversion paths. Now, what you can see here is days to conversion. This particular client, it takes around just under 5 days to convert. And it takes, on average, a user to touch the website 4.3 times. This is going to differ depending on your business here. And what we can see at the bottom, if we look at the third one from the bottom, we can see that a user has found us via organic search 3 times. They've then come back through a referral. This particular client has a partner program, which makes sense. The user is still doing that research, organic search. Again, they've come back to the website 6 times, and last thing they did to convert was via a paid search campaign. So when you look at this for organic search, whilst the user may not have converted via organic search, we can see how organic search is helping us. And this paints a bigger picture. So this allows you to boast, actually. If someone says, oh, organic search isn't converting, we've looked at the reports, it's not working. Well, actually, no, it is, because we can see it might not have actually attributed directly to the last touch point, but it has attributed overall. And this is a great way to start looking at that bigger picture as well. The next thing we can do is set up a report looking at engagement rate. Filter your report out by content that contains blog, for example. And that's going to look something like this. If you then want to sort of look at engagement rate at the lowest end here, we can know we've got a lot of work to do on these blog articles here. We can then look at maybe a top performing blog article and understand, okay, why are these events not working on this page? A few things could be the event tracking isn't set up on the page correctly, we don't have the correct buttons on there, the layout's different, there's going to be loads of things, but take your best performing page or best page by engagement rate and apply that same solution onto these pages that have low engagement rate. KPI reporting is really important. I think a lot of you who do SEO will obviously probably always sort of report on keyword positioning, which is great, but I feel like a lot of you don't boast about your conversions and your wins. Why don't we do that? I particularly love Dash This. This isn't a sponsored thing. I just particularly like their interface to do reporting. But boast about your conversions. If you're seeing that, okay, organic search isn't contributing directly to a conversion, but you know that it has attribute down the line on that conversion path, boast about it, show this, report this. Not enough of you boast about your goals. Organic search is hard in itself. Boast about your wins. And then the last thing we can do is look at SEO-influenced revenue reporting. This is going to be very easy. We can look at, this is an e-commerce website, so we can see purchases here. We can filter out by organic search, and we can see total revenue. Now, that's really easy, but when we look at a B2B business or a website that doesn't necessarily do sell online, how do we look at putting conversion value to our leads and conversions? Well, what we can do here is we can look at this as an overall image we can say, okay, how many conversions did we get this year via this book discovery call? If we look at how many leads we got and what that revenue kind of looks like, then we can kind of do some quick calculations and then divide that metric by the amount of leads, and we can put a conversion value against it. This isn't going to work for everyone, but if you've definitely got a client or your business that needs to see those dollar signs, this is going to really help prove your worth when it comes to tracking and talking about organic search and how that's attributed to conversions. So just to reiterate, start boasting about your wins. Organic search is hard, guys. Start boasting about it and reporting on it and showing your worth. So if you need any help with optimizing GA4 for conversion tracking success, you can find me on LinkedIn or at asmarketingagency.com. And thank you.